New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Why, hello, it's me. Yes, me, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. Hello, welcome this evening, this morning, whatever time you're watching, just welcome and know that it's a good time, the best time to start a discussion for grief. And here's what I want to say. First, I should tell you a little bit about me. I am a grief coach. I'm a registered nurse, a religious science practitioner, and a licensed soul collage facilitator. Licensed soul collage facilitator. Had a lot of L's there, losses, license. And I am just here to assure you that you've come to the right place to start your journey of befriending grief. By starting your personal journey to befriending grief, you will become a guide for others, allowing them to start their own personal journey. Knowing that that is how we heal, one by one, healing together. And Bell Hooks, I feel, so eloquently stated it as, we can't heal in isolation. It's like we confront grief with our friends. We haven't validated, we haven't heard, we share that grief. And it's like that one by one. It's like a huge building at night. Notice how one light comes on and another light comes on. Then an entire floor is lit until the entire building is illuminated. That is my mission here, for us to start one by one by one, befriending grief, being able to lean into grief. And knowing that, and I don't want it to sound at all like just easy peasy, lean into grief, the next thing you know, you've moved through. It is a process. It is a process. And that's why I say don't go the route alone. And so, with saying that, today our topic is going to be the gifts of grief. And not trying to put a pretty bow on it and tie it up in a neat little package, but to let you know that there is a coming out, a moving through, and a coming out on the other side. And what that looks like, and what that can be for you. So today, I just have the very best guest ever. Every guest is awesome and spectacular, but Rev Gina Colvario Krupka is here, and just the last time she was here, got so many comments and so many comments afterwards from her wise words of wisdom about life and grief. So I want to get Rev Gina here in on the conversation, but first let me just read her bio, and it's just so worthy of every moment that we take to get to know her before she comes on screen. So Reverend Gina Colvario Krupka is blessed to be a wife, proud mother of two, and grandmother of four. She has received her certificate of ministerial education from the Holmes Institute School of Consciousness Studies and the School of Spiritual Leadership, and is also a licensed practitioner. And now on to Reverendhood. She is the spiritual director of CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, Greater Boston, which has hybrid services. And their Sunday service can be found right here on New Thought Media, right here online at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So mark that on your calendar. And Reverend Gina is a proud member of the prayer team here on New Thought Media. And she also produces 2 weekly live shows, the Peace Circle and Finding the Joy in the Journey. Reverend Gina is the founder of Believe in You Today, a certified life coach, published author of 3 books, and a motivational speaker with over 25 years of experience in speaking, coaching, teaching, and workshop facilitation. Her passion is helping people realize their potential and live happy and fulfilled lives, and is available for private life or spiritual coaching, trainings, and workshops. So help me welcome Reverend Gina Krupka right here, right now on Your Doula for Grief. Reverend Gina, thank you so much for agreeing to be here today to delve into our subject of the gifts of grief.
What a blessing to be invited. Thank you, Bonnie. It
Oh,
is absolutely a blessing. You are a blessing. And we, for those of you that were at Vista last week, Bonnie gave an amazing workshop. So I hope you were able to catch it. And if not, it's still in the platform for those
yes.
that, if you had a ticket and went, make sure you catch that. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I felt good about the sharing of it, Reverend Gina, and got such positive feedback because it is such the time right now. And I don't know, and you share with me what you feel. I think COVID did something with unwrapping that gift box of grief that we've left under the tree for years and years. Did not want to open it. I was going to say unpack it, but to open that gift box. So do you feel in your experience in coaching and being people?
I have had a grief workshop that I created at this point a dozen years ago. And I used to have a cycle there was a particular medical office that I worked at, and I had a cycle. It was a 10-week cycle. And grief would be the one that maybe one person would show up or no one, nothing at all. To me, it was the most important topic that we covered, and it would be the least attended. And
Yes.
it's one of those things that no one wants to talk about it, but everyone experiences it. And I think that one of the gifts that COVID brought, and there were a lot more hardships than there were gifts, but one of the gifts that COVID brought was the ability to say it out loud.
Yes.
There's so many people grieving in so many different ways that it was okay to say it. And for the first time, this was a conversation. It was about loss. It was about what did it feel like, not only to lose someone, but to lose someone and not be there, not be at their side. What did it mean when it was unexpected? What did it mean? And from that, the conversation went. And yes, it was just like being technology. It was always there, but not everybody used it. It became a lot more accessible at the time of COVID, because everybody was home and needed to find some
Right.
way to connect. Now, all of a sudden, it wasn't just for teenagers or the youth; it was for everybody. And you had grandparents on Zoom with their grandchildren that didn't even know it existed. So
Right.
there's good in everything, and that includes grief.
Yes.
You know, I think sometimes that we get caught up in not wanting to look at what we don't like, but it doesn't make it denial. I lived my life. That was my coping mechanism of choice, was denial. Just going through. I was so busy that it was easier just not to look at it.
Yes.
I'd rather, just keep my head down and just pretend. And I spent my life in that place of denial. And it took me being diagnosed with cancer. That's when it finally stopped, when I could not do anymore. And I had to stop because I had 28 tumors in my kidneys. When I finally had to stop, that's when I stopped and looked around and realized that all of that denial only got me sick.
Right. And you use the word denial. I love that. I use the word diversional activities. Oh, it's the proverbial busyness. Oh, I'm doing this and oh, I'm doing that. And just spinning until you drop in bed, then you get up and start spinning again. So,
and many of us don't know we're doing it. If you were raised that way, these are the things that you think you need to do. And I couldn't fathom letting any of them go. You have all the balls are in the air and you think, how could I? Because if I took one away, it felt like everything would collapse. And it's not the truth. It's just how it felt.
Yes. And also, in not putting anybody down, but just bringing awareness to our lifestyles is what my idea here is. But we live in a society that supports that kind of busyness, that if you're not doing something, oh my goodness. I was raised with that. Oh, what is that? Idle mind is the devil's workshop. I was raised, you have to be doing something. If you're not, Bonnie, then wow, what's going on?
If not, you're lazy, or it was
gone.
I also think that there's a lot of different awarenesses along the way that I've gotten, and you can't know until you know.
Yes.
And I believe that my work is to say it so that people can know without the 28 tumors.
Yes.
So I go out and I say, well, this is my experience, so that people don't have to get sick to learn and understand what that means. See, for me, I couldn't imagine, I had my own business. I had, my family at home, and I had, I was president of Toastmaster groups, 2 of them I had, because it couldn't be just one. It was always like, there was always more, and there was more. And I ran an office, and at the end of the day, it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. But I didn't know how to live that. And now I know, if you were happy with me, if you were impressed with me, then I was okay. I was striving for external validation so that I could have a little bit of internal validation.
Internal peace, yes.
I didn't know what it was to be okay, to say that, I'm enough. I didn't know what that was,
Yes.
And if you don't have that language or understanding, how could you?
Yes. I was going to just add to that. We have a new minister at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. I had a talk with her yesterday, and I'm what's called an outreach practitioner, meaning that I'm not practicing in the city that holds my license, in the facility that holds my license. And so last night I just made a laundry list so that she would know what I'm doing in the world, since I'm not there, for hands-on. And I just looked at that this morning, Reverend Gina. It was a long list. And I thought I had to take a deep breath myself and to say, is this a list of what you're doing, or is this a list of what you're avoiding? that it keeps me, I can live in that. Oh, I don't have to look at X, Y, and Z in my life. So it allowed me to really to have it in front of me, to say, are these the things that really bring me joy? Are these the things that I really want to do? And yes, go ahead. Yes.
My two big questions is it mine to do? This is
Oh,
new. It never was like this before. On the other side of not being able to doing anything, this is what I've come to. Is it mine to do? Because
yeah.
I used to think if I could, then I should. And,
Yeah,
should is not a real thing. So, is it mine to do? And is it mine to do now?
Oh,
Because those are two different questions.
love
And
it.
they're very big questions. Because back in the day, if I could do it, it was just another thing to add. You want something done, you ask a busy person. They will get that done because they only know how to get things done.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Everybody asks because you know how to do things. You get them done. And if you do it, I guarantee you, people will let you keep doing it.
Oh, yes. Yes. And one practitioner, emeritus person said to me, Bonnie, you're saying no. Give someone else that opportunity for yes. And I had never, it's like if somebody asked, it had to be yes, 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 because they asked. Oh my gosh, I didn't want to disappoint them. And just didn't want to disappoint them. That part of being accepted, and
it's
life
not,
kind of got through that part.
Many of us were raised to be people pleasers.
Yes, especially women are socialized.
There was something attached to, if I said I'm not available, it means I couldn't do it, therefore I'm less than. None of those are equal. You ask me if I can do something for you is not the equivalent of whether or not I can do it at all. And it doesn't mean that it's mine to do now. And it doesn't mean that it's mine to do at all. Just because you ask me doesn't mean that I'm the one that's supposed to do it. Maybe it is something you need to figure out. Maybe it's someone else's to do. But we're raised that to be good enough, to be as good as other people, I need to say yes and do it better than anyone.
Yes.
And I often still fall into that trap of, I'll get your stuff done before I'll get my stuff done.
Yes. But even though you can say that you're doing it and it's still putting other people a little bit first, but now there's that awareness that you're doing. And that is I just read the 4 pivots. That is the pivotal moment when you can be aware. Then you can say, oh, wow, well, okay, I'll continue doing this for now, but how can I go forward? How can I dribble the ball down the court in a different fashion of putting my needs first, and not in a selfish way, but taking care of me.
We're here for purpose. And I truly believe that, one, for me, you were talking about the gifts of grief.
Yes.
I was so busy doing, I wasn't a human being. I was a human doing. So this diagnosis, and honestly, the only reason I even got the diagnosis is because I was so exhausted. Everything took so much out of me that I went to my doctor and finally said, something's wrong. And she started to do testing. So the first thing I'll say to you is, if there's somebody out there who your body is telling you something's wrong, trust it. First of all, get the rest that you need and go to your doctor and say it. And if they try to, diminish what you feel, your body, have them check it. So that was the whole thing, is when be in that place and honor your body. And it doesn't mean you have to push harder. And it doesn't even mean that you're getting older, because that's one of the, it's not as easy to do the things, and that may be true. However, your body. And when things not right, it's not right. So for me, at that point, everything else went on hold. And I didn't have a choice.
Right.
And it was a long road back to health. And I'm still on that road, and I still get impatient. And it's been 10 years since I was diagnosed. And
Yes.
there's a lot of levels and layers, and there's a lot of information. And the truth for me is I'm a completely different person. I would have never gone to ministerial school. I would have never had the time or imagined having the time to do that. Now,
Right. Right.
everybody's different, but I know for me, my prayer in the morning is, Spirit, what would you have me be? Not do, because that's who I used to be, is that
Yeah.
human doing. What would you have me be? And
Mm.
I cannot do for you and you and you and you and you and then live my purpose. I get
Yes.
not enough time. I can either be what other people want, or I can be what Spirit wants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in order for me to be my highest self, I have to let go of everyone else's expectations, including my false expectations.
You're false. Oh, I love that. The false expectation of who you are feeling that you need to be. Could I just back all the way up to 10 years back when you were feeling exhausted and got this diagnosis, my goodness, of cancer? And I do share with the listeners that grief is caused by loss. It's like when there's a loss that's what shifts us into grief. And so many times in our culture, we always feel that death is the only thing that moves us to grief. And so I wanted to back up to that 10 years ago, that loss of vibrant health, what can you help us? Yeah. How that loss?
My sister transitioned almost 15 years ago, and she was 37 years old. And in 2 months, she went from diagnosis to gone. In 2 months. And I had no experience with it in any way, shape, or form. And this was my best friend. And there were so many layers of not just grief, but there was so much involved, because she had an 11 and 9-year-old. My mom went into a deep depression, and I was the one trying to take care of her, making sure that the kids were okay, making sure that everybody else was okay. I didn't tend to myself in any way. 2 weeks after my sister was diagnosed, not after she transitioned, but after she was diagnosed, my father was. And within the year, my mother was.
That is
Here I am, mother, father, and sister, stage 4 cancer. And I was just trying to keep up with all of the whack-a-mole things that were happening on a day. And as much as I tried to be present, there was no way I didn't even know what that was at that time. And I know now that all of that grief turned into 28 tumors.
Yes. Oh,
that's, that's where there's Eastern and Western medicine.
Yes.
If you look, kidney is where you hold grief.
That's exactly it. It's the releasing. That's how it through
So
our.
I never released it, and that was the problem. And as a result, it took what it took. And when I was diagnosed, my first answer to my doctor, I went for they found mine the same way they found my sister's. It was actually found through a chest X-ray, looking for pneumonia.
Wow.
And it was the same way that my sister's was. So,
and his sister's name?
My sister's Diane.
Diane. Yeah, let's speak her name. So Diane.
And I can say her name with a smile.
Yeah.
And I'm not in grief saying it's that she's, of course I wish she was beside me in the physical realm, but I can smile now and tell you all about the amazing gift she was. And that's the difference between being in grief and getting through grief.
Right, exactly.
I can celebrate her. I can say her name and enjoy. She was a trip and a half. She was always late. She was the biggest, brightest smile in the room. She was life. She just had so much life. And it was 37 years is all she got. Wow. And the gift that I get is I was her little sister, and here I am. I'm going to be 50 in August.
Oh, just a baby here. Thank you.
My point is that I get to be 50.
Yes, exactly.
I get to be. I am not. There's nothing about me at any birthday that has ever been like, oh, I'm getting older. It's what a gift, what a privilege to be able to get older. What a privilege every day is. I get to do this. She doesn't. So it gave me a completely different look on life. My outlook completely changed because I get to be here and make the most out of it and not waste a single one of them. So that was, for as far as that went. And then my mother and father both went on to have 6 bouts of cancer, different surgeries, different kinds, all kinds of different things that went on. And eventually then I had mine. And, it was one of those things that I don't claim it. It's not mine in the sense of, but it was a manifestation of not caring for myself because I didn't know how to do better. There's no guilt. There's no shame. I didn't know what I didn't know. I did what I was raised to do, which was to take care of everyone.
Right.
And in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have changed anything at all.
Because that's really interesting.
Because I did the best I could to care for everyone in my life that didn't have other people or my nephews or, even some of the other things that went on in my life. It wouldn't have changed anything because I know everything happens the way that it's meant to.
Right. And I was going to say that without getting too philosophical when you were talking about that, saying that you wouldn't change a bit of it, even though it's sounding horrific, overwhelming, and I'm sure that there were times that it was. But I hold the belief that if it could have been different, it would have been different. It's like it unfolded the way that my life at that time needed to have it unfold. And so when I hear you say that, I mean, with your sister and then your mother and your father, how could you have navigated that any other way? I mean, with hindsight, with looking back, because it unfolded the way that it needed to unfold.
My spiritual connection kept me sane. My spirituality and my connection with God kept me sane. It kept me, I can't imagine walking through the life that I have had without spirit.
Yes.
Like I think of people that don't have that connection, and it makes me sad because at the end of every day, even if I'm in tears and I'm angry and I'm yelling at spirit, because I'll yell at God if I'm mad. Trust me, it's not like spirit doesn't know.
Who are you, God?
I'm mad. I don't pretend.
Yes.
And at the same time, I'm also, at the end of the day, wrapped up in the arms of divine, and I will fall asleep as if I am right in that position, held by the beloved as a child. And I will envision myself in the arms of the beloved, knowing that just as a child abandoned myself to that place.
Yes.
And that gives me strength because I allow myself to not force strength. There's times you're meant to be carried.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying when I'm saying grief needs to be validated. It's like, yes, you are at that point, or I'm at that point that I just feel overwhelmed. I feel like I need someone to pick me up and carry me. It's impossible to put one foot in front of the other in this moment. So
you had asked me, I want to just go back to one of the things you asked me and I didn't answer was, you said, how did I deal with it when I got the diagnosis?
Yes, and I will.
I went back an extra 10 years, or 5 years, or whatever it was. But honestly, I would say the most difficult thing I ever had to, one of, if not the most difficult things. Now you got to understand that I was the one that took my sister off life support at 37 years old. I was the one that went and told people what was going on and that she wasn't going to make it more than a couple of hours. And do you know, it was harder for me to tell my husband and my mother that I was diagnosed than it was to even say those things, because I felt like the source of their pain.
Wow.
I felt like I knew what it was like to walk through that, and to feel like the source of someone else's pain was horrific. And I wasn't. It wasn't anything I could do, and I wasn't, but I felt like, and
Yes.
that's, it's important that people honor every aspect of it, even that feeling like it's hard to feel like a burden.
Right. And I was going to say on the other side of that, and thank you for saying that part, because that is a truth that a lot of people just can't even find the words for. What I wanted to offer, though, people want to be there to support us. Like your husband wants to be there. Your mother wanted to be there. That if we can realize, I guess what I'm saying is, if we can realize how much we're loved by our loved ones and our friends.
I truly believe that part of why all of this happened was to teach me how to receive. I don't, there's, I know what a vision board is. I've taught vision boards. I'm a life coach and have been for, at this point, almost 15 years. I have taught the law of attraction for almost 15 years. And I wasn't seeing things happen in my life. And I kept, I didn't know how to receive. I couldn't receive a compliment. You would ask, do you need help with that? And I'd say, no, I've got it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
There's
so
pause
on that. Pause on that.
There's so many layers to being able to receive. Because if you can't receive, I like your sweater, you can't receive, would you like a hand with that? How can you receive anything else?
Yes, you're blocking. It's like a big blockade of allowing to your life.
Consciousness. And everything is consciousness.
Yes.
So whether it is a feather or whether it's $1 million, it's still consciousness. So if I'm blocking my good because I don't know how to receive, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I believe that that was part of my path, that I had to get to a place where I had no choice but to ask for help. And when you wake up after 4 days of a coma and you have no feeling from your neck down, you have no choice. You are completely at the whim of whatever other people are able to do for you and with you. And my life began again in a completely different way.
Wow. I'm just imagining waking up like that. I'm just imagining what that must have felt like too.
I didn't know. I didn't understand. Of course, they have you on all kinds of medication because I was in a lot of pain, and there was a lot that had happened. And I was actually at NIH, National Institute of Health.
Right, I know.
They did this miraculous surgery that saved my left kidney that had literally 20 tumors in it, and I still have 80% of it. I still have 80%, 20 tumors, and I still have 80%.
80%. Wow, that's a strong kidney.
Truly a miracle. I am truly a miracle.
A miracle.
And I still needed to go through what I needed to go through. So I learned how to walk again, and I learned how to do all of that. And I was reliant upon people and circumstances and so many things. Yes. But my faith has always been my life raft.
Yes.
Those spiritual muscles that you build every day when you do your readings, those spiritual muscles that you in a prayer partner, or even just that, oh crap, as you're yelling out for a spirit to help you.
Yes.
Whatever it may be, all of that works when you need it the most.
That is just incredible. That's a miraculous healing. I'll call it a healing, because that's what that is, a miraculous healing.
And now I ask for everything. Now I ask as a practice, and I tell people I work with, I want you to ask someone to stop and pick something up for you. I want you to start today. Ask someone, can you bring me that? Practice it like a muscle. You don't need it. You can certainly get up and go get it yourself. Ask someone, would you grab that for me? Could you stop on the way?
Yeah, on the way back. Can you?
And it's not always comfortable. It's not always comfortable to ask, but it's important because we are meant to give and receive.
Yes. Oh gosh, there are a lot of things that I want to say here, but this one, since it just grabbed my attention when you said it, it's like we don't want to ask. It's uncomfortable to ask. And I was just going to say, for anybody that's resonating with that, and I'm resonating with that, to just breathe into that. And where do you feel that discomfort? Where is that discomfort? What is that discomfort? Where is that discomfort? Even checking in your body. Where in your body do you feel hesitation when you ask or want to ask and can't? So just where in your body? And when you can notice it and identify it, maybe breathe some love into those places. Because for me, and I'll keep it in the eye, when I breathe into it, it's like, there's a sense of self-worth that comes in. For me, that's mine. And I'll ask you to share yours.
Worthiness is a big part of it. And more than that, for me, I've always been extremely overweight. That's just the way it's always been. I have lost hundreds of pounds. Yeah. And I tell you, I have had 100-pound swing 3 times and a 200-pound swing 1 time.
Wow.
I have lost hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
So you can be an expert. No, here's what I'm going to say. Let me just clarify that. It's anytime you go through an experience, your horrific cancer 10 years ago, weight loss, weight gain, whatever it is, I was always taught within my Buddhist tradition, whatever you're going through, it's because one day you will be able to support someone else.
Absolutely.
Who will go through the very same thing. So when
I do what I do, that's why that's why I became a life coach. That's why I am in ministry. Yes. The whole point is so that no one else has to have 28 tumors when they find it, so that this doesn't have to happen to people, that they can recognize themselves in the actions. And for me, because of the weight, I always tried harder. I had to be the overachiever. I couldn't just be good enough. It had to be better than everybody else. I had to prove myself, and asking you to do something for me made me feel weak. I couldn't allow that. I had this chip on my shoulder from when I was a kid, promising myself I will never, I took tap, jazz, and ballet. I was very overweight, but I took tap, jazz, and ballet.
I couldn't see it, yes.
And I stopped taking dance because of my weight. And not because I couldn't do it, but because of how I looked in the costumes.
Yes,
it felt like the movie Fantasia, and I'm aging myself, with the what were they were hippos in ballerina outfits. That's what it felt. It wasn't the truth, but it's how I felt. So I stopped dancing, and I swore at 13 years old when I quit dancing school, it would be the last thing I ever didn't do because of my weight. And it turned into a lifetime of proving myself to me more than anyone else. And it was at a hindrance to myself. I didn't honor what my body told me. I didn't honor any boundaries at all because I had to prove it. And it was only to me. I don't know who I thought I was proving it to, but it was an extra. I had to prove myself. And there's plenty of overachievers out there, and everyone has different reasons. But we tell ourselves that, I need to do this. I need to. And there's no question of whether or not it's the right thing for me to do. Is it mine to do? Is it mine to do now? Is it mine to do with everything else too? So, if I've got 10 different things going in different directions, which one do I let go so that I can do this? That was
Yeah.
never the question. It's just picking something else up.
Mm.
So I've definitely learned that there's things I can and cannot do. And on any given day, people will say to me, look at all you do. And I think I don't do anything at all.
But you see, it's not enough. And yes, yes, yes. So now you're able to see that. So how do you feel you navigate your world differently now?
I try to keep perspective on any given day. I honor myself as best I can. If something's coming up, I honor myself in advance. So if I know it's going to be a busy weekend, I make sure that I take care of myself leading up to that weekend. I make sure I schedule less on Friday, and I make Monday easier.
Oh, good.
So it's learning how to, sometimes you just have a lot to do. There's going to be days, there's going to be weekends, there's going to be things that happen in your life that are busy. Holiday seasons tend to pick up. Well, then what do I do to make sure that I maintain my health, my sanity, and my peace of mind? Above all, my peace of mind, because that's everything. It's not just about existing, it's about living.
Yes, I just read that life isn't to be just endured and exist. Life is to be lived. It is to be lived. What is this year's theme for CSL? Living out loud. It is to be lived to the fullest. Live to the fullest.
That doesn't mean doing more, because you can be extremely busy and experience nothing.
Nothing, and exactly, and just inside there is nothing happening. You're just spinning on the outside.
Sometimes I'll be driving home and I'll look at the clouds and I think, oh my God, look at how the light is coming, the sunlight is coming through behind the clouds.
Yeah.
And the rays that are cast and the color and the beauty and the magnificence of it all. And then how many years did I spend not looking at the clouds?
Not noticing.
How many days do I still do it? That I'm in a hurry. Everything's on the way home or on the way there. And, when they say that expression, stop and smell the roses, that's why my show is called Finding the Joy in the Journey. And the point of it is, regardless of where you are, I call it destination happiness. A lot of people.
Let me just sit with that a minute.
Destination happiness. A lot of people have this thing of, when I retire, then I'll be happy. When I have more time, when I go on vacation, when I lose weight, when I meet the right person, when I've paid off my bills. Destination happiness. And then you get there and there's always something else. So the whole point is, right now, your children will never be the same age. Right now, you will never be the same age. There will never be the people that are in your life today, tomorrow. It's never going to be that way. They're not all going to be around. What are you missing? Your children, your grandchildren, whatever it is in your life that you want to enjoy. If you don't do it now, you don't get a do-over.
Exactly.
So it's finding the beauty now, even if it seems ugly. There's even beauty in the ugliness.
Yes.
I have watched people that have declined, and even to the point that, and I know you, you've done hospice. There's beauty in every stage of life. Even the final stage is absolutely, it's so spiritual and it's so awe-inspiring. It's a gift to be able to be present when someone takes their last breath. And I don't say that there's no morbid and I wish I'd never experienced it. But I experienced it at 17, and I experienced it, at 33, and I experienced it again and there was a reason. There's a blessing upon my life of what I'm meant to be. I was born to be a minister. And
you're a minister.
I know that because I always felt like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wow.
And as soon as I started, I always felt like I should have already accomplished something. I should have already. And as
Yeah.
soon as I got into ministerial school, that feeling went away.
Isn't
That
it wonderful?
race went away.
Yes, isn't it wonderful to find your place, to find your purpose in life, and to live on purpose.
Well, that's every day. That's we do the best we can. And I don't
Living-
know what my ministry is going to look like. I have no idea what Spirit hasn't. I only know for today, and that's enough. But
Yes.
I'm doing what I need to just for today. And today I can't tell you how many times I said, today that I'm going to do the best I can to be good to myself. Self-care is my order of the day, because I woke up with this. I have a million things to do, and self-care is the order of the day today. Yes, I will get things done, but only if I don't get overwhelmed by all the things I need to get done.
Oh, gosh, Reverend Gina, there's so many things that I wanted to say to that, and just a couple, and then I'm going to ask you, because we did say it's going to be the gifts of grief, and I want to get back to that. But needing to hear your story, because sometimes hearing the entire struggle, making you a personable person versus someone that comes on and says these are the gifts, to know your story, then be able to really appreciate your insights. And there was one that you were talking about, just paying attention, looking at the clouds. And I just want to say, if you're a person that drives everywhere, one day, just stop and walk to where you need to go. Notice how many things you didn't even realize were at a certain stop sign, or along the route there's this big rose bush that pops out into the sidewalk. I mean, from the sidewalk onto the, just notice what it is. Just take some time to just breathe in, get out and walk, and just notice. Just notice. Even if it's one of those things where you park your car at the very far end of the parking lot and walk to wherever store or shop and see what you see along the way. It's like, oh, never noticed there was that little, dip there, and there's somebody painted a sign on a pole. So yeah, just, what is that? Just finding something beautiful in just the everyday in the ordinary. And just talking about, when I talked about that long laundry list of things to do, what I offer is that leave space around your activities. Leave space. I relate it to, like, if you're at what do you call this, a buffet, where you can have everything you want on your plate, and my husband likes to just pile it all on there and enjoy it. But how about if you have anything you want, but nothing can touch? Everything has to have a little space. And so just offering that in our busy lives, as you say, there's some days there is a lot. It's jam-packed, but leaving a little space around those activities. So with that, I just wanted to ask you, I have this quote. It's like, if you're talking to a Martian, what would you tell it to look for in grief? What is the gift of grief? So maybe just talking with someone. What would you say would be the gift of grief?
I believe that, I used to think that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I used to say that.
It just pisses you off. No.
I used to say that. And
yeah, I've heard it too.
And today I don't use that anymore. I think that grief is kind of like a shipwreck. A ship that's been through a storm that might be afloat, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. You can paint that deck, you can resurface it, but it's not the same as it was before it went through that awful experience. So sometimes grief can thin us out a little. We're not who we were. I wrote an article called Innocence Lost in Grief. I'm not who I was. But once my sister transitioned and all that happened, I was a different person on the other side of that. And while I'd love to not know what I know now, I am here to help people, and on the role and what my purpose is in my life, I needed all that.
Yeah.
So, I know that I am strong. I know that I'm compassionate. I know who and whose I am because of my path.
Mm-hmm.
I am I am closer to spirit than I've ever been because of my path.
Yes, yes.
You know, if you have somebody that you love and you know that they'd be there for you, but you never needed them to be there for you, you appreciate them, but in a different way than when they are there for you when you needed them to be there
When
for you.
they're really there. Yes,
You
yes,
know, I have leaned into spirit. I have leaned into friends and my husband. Oh my God, what a gift! Like
oh, okay.
my husband is the greatest gift I could have ever imagined. You
That
know,
is beautiful.
I can't even. There are not words, and you know, and I remember it clearly saying, "Why did I get so lucky?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, at this point, we're together. I think 23 years. We're
Oh
married.
my goodness.
And we're married,
Yes, yes.
or married almost 21. And, you know, it's just, but the gift is, I used to say, why did I get so lucky? And
Mm-hmm.
as soon as my sister was diagnosed, I came home and said, this is why. That night, I said,
Not you.
God knew I would need you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have leaned on him and into him, you know, for the past 15 years in ways I couldn't have imagined. You know, it's when you lean on each other in that way, when people are when you're able to have those relationships, and when you don't, when you reach out for those relationships.
Yes,
Because
yes.
one of the greatest lessons I learned is nobody was calling because no one thought I needed them.
Oh, yes. Oh my
It
God.
wasn't that they didn't care. It's that I had spent my whole life telling you, I don't need your help.
I
I'm
got this.
the one that carried everybody. So when something happened,
Yes.
they'd assumed I was okay.
Yes, yes,
And the
yes.
truth was I was not okay. But they didn't know. They didn't know because I always told, they always expected. I never accepted it before. I never accepted that help. I never asked for help. I
Right.
didn't know, you know, I taught them. The people that are in our lives, we teach them how to treat us.
Oh, I love that expression. I've had that told to me
We teach them
various
how to
times.
treat us. And if someone's disrespectful and we allow it, we've taught them that that's okay. If somebody is, you know, if somebody's a blessing and we allow it, we've taught them that's okay. But if I say, no, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you. Well, when I do need you 100 times later, they're not going to ask.
Yes,
So
yes,
people
yes.
assumed I was okay, even when I wasn't,
Yes.
because I taught them how.
Mm. And what is that Maya Angelou says? That when we know better, we do better.
Yes.
We know better, we do better. And that's what we're both sharing today. What we didn't know, but now that we know, our goal is to do better.
So you ask for what you need. And the truth is, they may be there for it, they may not be there for it. But you can't get upset that someone's not there when you never asked them to be there before. When
Exactly.
you created it, it made me aware of who I'd been in my whole life. It
Mm-hmm.
made me aware that I was, you know, I was such a caretaker that I never allowed anyone to care for me that way. I didn't know how.
Yeah. And now you see that. And
And
now
now I
you
ask it.
and
Now
now
I
you
ask.
see that. So that's one of those gifts of grief. And I'll just throw out one more. I see we're at time. Where does the time go? Resilience. Resilience is one of those gifts of grief. Resilience. And I feel that with grief, I say it this way, grief gets your attention like nothing else. I mean, it gets your full attention. And for me, it's the first time I can say to myself, oh, what do I need right now? Oh my God. How do I move forward? It shines the light back to me. That is one of, for me, the gifts of grief. and shining that light without grief. But that was one of the gifts of grief, was to shine that light back to me, to say, what do I need? I'm really hurting here. This is really painful. It really hurts. What do I need?
And it's different times. That's the thing too.
Yes.
There's no, grief doesn't have a time frame. You know, grief is a forever thing. There will be things that are triggered that and I'll turn to my husband and I'll just say, I really miss her today.
Yes.
My mom, I just really miss her today.
Mm-hmm.
I just really wish I could make a phone call and that she was there today.
Yes.
I mean, I know goes on forever and she's always with me. There's only one. I know that. But I want a hug. I want to hear her voice. I want to be someone's daughter. And that's not here today. Or a holiday that I used to come from a big Italian family and they're all gone now.
Yes.
So allow yourself the waves.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, shouldn't I be over this by now? There's no handbook.
Right.
The littlest song can trigger so much emotion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lean in and go through the wave, because on the other side of it, you'll be just fine. But if you try,
you won't be taken under. You won't be taken under. You won't be
if you try to stand up against that wave, you will be, though.
Yeah. Yes. Ride the wave. Is that what I'm hearing? Ride the wave.
Yes. When you're in there, if you're in the ocean and it comes at you, just go with it. Go with the flow. Allow yourself to cry when you need to. Do what you need to do. Because you know what? Otherwise, it will take you under.
Yeah. Respect grief when it shows up. Respect it.
And it'll flow away.
Yes.
It'll flow away the same way it came in.
I was going to say, there was, talking about addictions and quitting smoking. I had a nicotine addiction, and it was just, oh my gosh, horrific. And I just remember reading something that says, if you can just make it through 1 minute, the urge will pass. The urge will pass to smoke. And that's what just this moment, breathing into it. And I say that when that pain of grief comes, if you can just be with it, breathe it in, as Reverend Gina says, ride the wave, it will pass. It all came to pass. Didn't come to get trapped in our bodies. It came to pass.
Get support. That's the best thing I can say to people. If you don't have people that will listen to you, find them. Find a new tribe.
Yes, find a new tribe. Reach out for some professional help. Reverend Gina is a spiritual coach, a life coach. I'm a spiritual coach, a grief coach. So yes, Joe, thank you. This is only part 1 of the gift of grief. Reverend Gina's going to come back for part 2. Okay, we only touched the tip of the iceberg, and I love my producer Joe, who's keeping us on task today. Reverend Gina, thank you. And Joe, you can put that banner back up. Reverend Gina is, as I said, the spiritual director of CSL Boston. It's Greater Boston, correct? Greater Boston. And her Sunday service airs at 3 p.m. Mountain Time every Sunday, right here on New Thought Media. Also,
finding the joy in the journey. Come visit me on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time.
1 p.m. Mountain Time.
And on the 9th, you are actually going to be part of it with me.
I will be finding right along there.
We're talking about joy on the 9th. So
we are going to be joyous. We are going to be joyous together on the 9th of March. And that is 1 p.m. Mountain Time. 3 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, don't go anywhere. I'm going to just do a blurb here I have a grief support group, I'll say loss support. It's a compassionate attention to loss ministries. It meets the first Sunday of every month, and you can just go to oaklandcsl.org and look under events and come. It's absolutely free. Come, and that starts at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Oh, thank you, Reverend Gina. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with? It's just been a joy to have you.
Trust that no matter what, Spirit's got you.
Oh,
Spirit always, in, through, and as you will not fall. You will not fall apart. Just trust, lean into your faith, and allow people to help. Don't get to the point of despair. Just keep allowing people to help.
Yes, yes.
Let the light in.
Yes. And that, let the light in. And my parting words, don't do grief alone. Don't do grief alone. People want to support you. And if you're not in grief, if you know someone in grief, reach out to them today. So with that, I thank you, Bonnie Gonzalez, again, your doula for grief with Reverend Gina Krupka. Thank you so much. Besitos. I will see everyone next week. Ciao.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.